Meeting to order. Could everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? We'll have a moment of silence beforehand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
16 present, with members Groves Allison and member Rosenbaum absent. Oh, and member Bryant. I'm sorry, missed her. Thank you.
Bring us to the approval of minutes. Is there a motion for the minutes? Member Salzer, member Daly. Any comments, corrections? Seeing none, please vote. It's closed.
People are voting. Really?
Out there.
Okay. Sorry. There's Jennifer's. That's weird. There you go. She's probably. Member Daly, if you'd just like to tell me, we'll go ahead and mark you for this one. Okay, thank you. 16 ayes.
We have nothing under proclamations and presentations tonight, and we have no citizens' remarks tonight, but I will use the chair's privilege for citizens' remarks, and at this time, introduce the new Farm Bureau president who's in attendance. Cheryl Kauser, if you want to come up and say a few words.
My name is Cheryl Kauser Walsh. I am the new president of the Peoria County Farm Bureau. In November, we had an election, and I won the election. My vice president is Corbin Wagenbach, and we currently have 4 new directors on our. This last month in December, at our first meeting, our meeting, and we have changed ours so that we can have involvement with our. It's really important for organizations to be involved and understand what is going on. So we are here to help you guys with any questions that you have. And agriculture is extremely important to this state and county here. It's one of the top 5 revenues from the state of Illinois and for this county. So on that standpoint, I do have one other thing. I am currently the past president of the Illinois Pork Producers Association. This fall, we hosted a rollover education, continuing education. Every day, there are hundreds of semis that go on Interstate 74 and 474 through livestock. They're called POTS, is what they're. If we were to have a rollover incident here in Peoria County, do we have an action? Do we have a way to take care of the accident? The question I have. If you guys are interested in being prepared for an accident, a rollover, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. There was just one on Interstate 80 up around Princeton not that long ago, and they were not prepared for it. There's associations here in Illinois that will help you get prepared for an accident. The closest emergency rollover trailer that's available to us here in Peoria County is 2. I don't know if any of you have been around livestock, but 2.5 hours, that is not close enough. It is not close enough. So I would like to see the county work on progress for a prevention. Like I said, it's not if, it's a when. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Cheryl. That will be a good question for Mr. Marks, who I'm sure has thought about many things. We have a great emergency department, but looking forward to under your leadership, she's been great. I have to admit, from when I started on, I did not know much about, still don't know much about farming, but between Matt Windish, Perham, and Cheryl, they've always been very kind to take the time and try to teach and educate on certain things. So I appreciate that and look forward to seeing what the Farm Bureau does under your leadership. That would bring us to the consent agenda. Is there a motion for to approve the consent agenda? Member Allison, Member Ruland. Would anybody like anything pulled from the consent agenda? Member Ruland. Probably
8.10.
You mean 8.10?
Okay.
To the Kickapoo Edwards Road Civil Dispense Road bid letting. Would anybody like anything else pulled? Seeing none, please cast your vote.
This is yeah. Member Phelan? Okay. Thank you. 17 ayes.
So that would bring us to 8.10 Kickapoo Edwards Road Civil Defense Road bid letting. Is there a motion to put this on the floor? Member Ruland, second by Member Couch. Discussion? Member Ruland?
Excuse me, there's a circumstance with this bid letting that deserves some additional clarity. We currently do not have a signed development agreement from Bex on this project. We have verbal commitments. So we've got a situation where the cart is a little bit ahead of the horse. I do believe we should move forward and award the bid letting per the bids that came in. We need to take advantage of springtime road builders projects and schedules. If we don't do this, we risk throwing it behind the rest of the project. I've asked Administrator Sorrell not to sign the William Charles contract until such time as that development agreement is executed. There is a share in this project that includes Bex paying $500,000 towards this 1.3 million. And again, I have the utmost faith that that will happen, but prudent business sense tells me that we should get a formal commitment before going to the final degree of asking the contractor to start this work. So I just felt that needed to be in the open. It is a little unorthodox.
And so, thank you, Member Ruin, and I agree we should address this separately tonight. And I'll just kind of reiterate a couple of the comments I've made from Monday and Tuesday's committees of the history of why we're here, just for public's sake. And we will have to have another agreement come front of the board for some readjustment to approve. And that's why I asked yesterday if there would be any opposition for adjusting the monetary value of what this deal entails. So if you recall, later this fall, we're getting to this bid letting to a point. We needed to have a deal in place. These road improvements do not happen without development on that corner of the interstate, which is a prime development interstate. We put everything in the enterprise zone there. So without that agreement, the original agreement, this has been about 3 years. One of the first meetings as a chair was to sit down with Mr. Smith and Bex to have these discussions about that property. The cost estimates of the road improvements have gone from about 600,000 to 800,000 to $1 million. The original contract that we had that we approved as a development agreement was about 1.2, and that's what we budgeted for in the plans. This came in at about 1.38 million, so there is a considerable gap on some of that monetary value there. So that being said, the original contract had actually only shown the developer putting $400,000 in it on the actual language, even though we were talking about 1.2 million, with the hopes that it would come in at 1.1. Peoria County, we develop roads with curb and gutter. We have some water retention, some other things. It's going to be all concrete on civil defense with curb and gutter, 3-lane safety issues on Kickapoo Edwards Blacktop, and there's some redesign for safety issues in there. All things above and beyond what a developer would normally have considered for just putting an entrance into their project. We have very limited tools in our toolbox on how we can do. Most villages or municipalities enter into TIF agreements, and there's some sort of payback off the TIF agreement for those type of things. So, being also that site has some issues. It has some no water, city water, and no city sewer on that. That has increased the cost. That is not our issues. That is the developers, and they know that. But this is a very the data will show a lot of the stops on that are not from Peoria County, that they will be out of county coming in there because there's not a true travel center coming in there. That Shell stations across the street, which recently sold, that's going to have quite a bit of rework and safety issues in front of that as well. So the deal basically comes down to there's about a $240,000 gap. And we've added considerable amount from the original plan to the secondary plan on that. So do you let a deal die and redevelop a corner that has sat vacant for a long time over that? I think this board wants to be business friendly, and the answer is, my answer would be no, is that we figure out a way to try to potentially, like we've done in the past, whether it be Keystone or whatever, this will be considerable gaming revenue. We have 3%. We'll get a 1% sales tax, general sales tax. There'll be a facilities tax that comes from that 1%, and then the public safety tax. Plus, there'll be a school tax that will be on most of the things. That benefits everybody in there. On the enterprise zone, first couple of years there'll be 0 taxes, and then after that, year 3, 4, and 5, we'll have 50% tax. And from early estimates of what we've seen, to Brimfield School District alone in year 6, that would be worth over $200,000 potentially, if not more, in property tax value to them, not counting the sales tax and the other revenue that comes in there. This opportunity is too good to let it pass. Potentially, it would just turn back into a laydown yard for trucks to sit off the interstate. We've put all that farm field into enterprise zone around there. There's been some other talk and chatter of that being very desirable. So in that, we will bring another development agreement. We only budgeted 1.2. We're going to need the 1.38, but we would like to close that gap from what we initially talked about and funded and use an economic tool, whether Steve had brought up a good idea for some funding sources, open to suggestions. We've talked about using some of the gaming revenue or some other things and bring back a package to us that would show that we repay and recapture some of that money from this revenue. And if you haven't been out there, it had been a long time garage and small gas station on that corner. Weaver still stays there, but it's basically just a gravel lot at the time being. So we can choose to go forward and come up and figure a way to close that gap, or we can just stay stagnant there. And I think we'd like to see that move forward. So I've asked staff to come up with a way to figure out to close that gap on a payback way. We do, having talking to the developer, currently we have just an email writing. I consider them to be a man of his word and a company of their word on it. $500,000 moves the project forward. That's what the check they will write to us to move this forward, and we will start the process. We will not sign or execute a contract until all those agreements and insurances are in place. Again, because this development does not happen with, honestly, a lot of this needs to happen no matter what, but we're not moving it forward without the development in place. And it would be remiss to share too, these are our roads, and as the developer told me, I'm writing you a check without showing or having an asset to show for it. But typically these, as you've seen, we pay 10%, if not more, in A&E to get the roads done. 100% of the A&E has been bored by the developer, which is a considerable sum, well over $100,000, I believe, at this moment. The last bill he just got for the road improvement changes was over $50,000. So that is a considerable sum also being thrown into the project. And I'm knowing from, I believe Mr. Kelch could testify as well, there's considerable anxiety from the neighbors in the school district that we had actually gone and spoke to about seeing this project move forward. I think this is a step in the right direction to move this project forward. So happy to answer any questions. I just want to be transparent. We talked about it on Monday and Tuesday of where we're at because there would be one more vote and there's going to be some financial rollovers that would need to occur. And that is for full disclosure. Member Ricker.
Thank you for the additional information, and thank you, Terry, for bringing it up. I guess, do we need to make an amendment to this resolution to incorporate what Member Rulon asked?
I don't believe so. As long as we take our administrator as his word that he's not signing it, no document, I don't believe Mrs. McCord or HEP Finance will help. Or it has also been the direction to Jeff and Amy at Highway. They do not sign any documents out until it is authorized by administration that we have surety in place to move those forward. So I don't necessarily think we need to have it amended to say other than we've give direction to our administration multiple other times to I clearly think. Okay. Terry.
I just want to say I'm comfortable with the situation we have. Everyone, that's why I brought this up. I wanted everyone in this room to hear all of these circumstances, which includes the commitment by Administrator Sorrell not to sign William Charles' contract until such time as the Beck's contract is in place. I'm comfortable.
I guess also from a procedural standpoint, is there a window of time? So we award this bid. Is there a window of time if we don't get the other agreement with the developer by 6 months or whatever, that this bid now expires? So is there an expiration date on this bid? So what's kind of our catch around this one?
There is typically an executed contract agreement on bids. Every Beck's Oil, the original agreement had timelines in it. We are hoping to close on some sort of adjusted agreement here ASAP with him that would move this forward, because there are timelines. And that's why there's not, as I said the other day in maybe Monday's meeting, the 1.38 million is the cheapest it's going to be, because if you go bid this out again 3 months from now, that number is only going to go up. Typically in construction, sometimes it does change, but we do not have time where this can sit there and if agreements aren't signed. If he does not sign agreements for the next 4 months, then this deal is still done because we've missed windows. So,
I guess out of respect for the contractor who this is being awarded to, they need to plan their workforce, their schedule, their laborers. I don't want to have them be disadvantaged because we're holding off on signing a contract that we put out with them. Because officially, they will not be awarded anything till it's signed. So if they want to prioritize other work to keep their workforce going, they may delay this until
so from
way
the sounds of it, we would issue a letter of intent to them from the contractor and the gas station perspective. They're on these similar windows we are, construction season starting, and they're purchasing, I believe, from what I was told, that this will allow them to now start making some of those purchases to speed that process, and they're going to want to hit those same construction cycles. So I think time is of the essence for us, and time is of the essence for the developer. And there's a lot riding on the developer to move those timelines too. So there's an incentive for that as well. So there are tight time frames.
I want to be respectful of the contractor because I don't want to have them set up where they purchased supplies and things for this job, and in May we drop it through and they're sitting holding the bag with a letter of intent. That looks bad on us as a county. So I know it's a catch-22, but put the perspective of the contractor that we're trying to do business with into this.
Member Ricker, I think based on the commitment that we have from the developer, at this point, staff fully expects to bring the revised redevelopment agreement, or I'm sorry, development agreement, back through the committees at the end of the month for February board. So pretty quick turnaround.
Member Ruling.
Just briefly, this vote starts the clock ticking. It actually will provide leverage to staff to get that done, because you can now go to the developer and say, we run the risk of getting a higher quote if this goes past 30 days. So it gives us a little ammunition to keep that thing moving quickly. Also be aware that if we give them the contract at the last minute, we could also give them the flexibility of doing the work late. Classically, on a project like this, there's a construction entrance and exit. They won't, during the course of construction, it won't be traffic on this road. That's a pretty sure way to do some serious damage to it. So it can come along at some point later in the construction process, because we don't want those heavy trucks on it anyway. So I don't see the timing beyond the paperwork being an issue. We can let them slot it in August if that's, as long as it happens before the rest of the project is built and ready to operate, it's functional for car traffic.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote.
Member Elsesser, I can go ahead and mark it for you if you like. Okay. "17 ayes. Next, we'd be at zoning ordinances and resolutions. Item 9.1 is zoning case number ZBA 2025-0057, petition of NJR Clean Energy Ventures 3 Corporation, a special use request from section 20-5.2.2.2.h of the Unified Development Ordinance. This section allows for a special use in the A2 Agricultural Zoning District for a solar energy generation facility, provided that the conditions in section 7.17 of these regulations are met. Also, a special use request from section 20-5.3.2.2.f of the Unified Development Ordinance. This section allows for a special use in the rural residential zoning district for a solar energy generation facility, provided that the conditions in section 7.17 of these regulations are met.
Member Ruland, Member Windisch. So on these next two cases, the developers are both here. On this one, I do just want to comment briefly on the record for maybe the developer's sake and insurance and comfort. Member Ruland has, I know, talked to them as well. This is a set 60 megawatts on the Hearst property. It's a good location for a development that's about enough energy for about 10,000 homes. We do have regulations on our ordinances about transferring the licenses. This developer plans to build this and develop it themselves, but we're into the what if they would want to sell it. And they were asking us to get rid of that variance. Administrator Braun for Planning and Zoning, we're over 25, I believe, or quite a few different properties that have already have higher than 25 properties that already have this restriction on it. We are not changing from that. But as you can see in the next case, it's a modification. There are ways to transfer, to change things, because this board has believed hard in the fact of the person that is making the special use needs to be the one to build it. And if you want to sell that now, you need to introduce us to that new person, not after the fact, because promises made in those meetings should be promises kept. And that has not been the case on some of our first ones where people came in and they've sold them 3-4 times. And that is not the same promises delivered to the neighbors that have to deal with this. So we've given assurances to the developer if that they do want to sell that, just as is in this next case, that was a modification. There is a process in place, and that we would be willing to work with them as long as they came and introduced, and the new owner made the same promises that this case would be made. So that is out there. I know there was some concerns over that, but we've been adamant about not changing that rule to people. Member Ruin, is there anything you'd like to add?
Just a simple thanks to the petitioner for their respect after understanding our reasoning behind those restrictions on the transfer. They were understanding, and they're here, but obviously you didn't hear from them. They are cooperating with us in every way possible. So, thank you.
Any other? Seeing none, please cast your vote.
Seventeen ayes. Next would be item 9.2. Zoning case ZBA 2025-0060, petition of Cornwell Solar LLC, a request to modify special use ZBA number 2022-0012, which was approved to allow for a special use in the A1 Agricultural Preservation Zoning District for a solar energy generation facility, provided that the conditions in section 7.17 of these regulations are met. The petitioner proposes to modify the request to include additional participating properties to the project area.
Member Ruland, Member Windisch. Any comments? Thanks for the developer for being here tonight. This is simply adding some property. We've already approved this one from a prior case. Seeing none, please cast your vote.
Seventeen ayes. Next, we'd be at miscellaneous and announcements.
We'll start on your side, Member Alsasser.
Well, first of all, you can't believe everything you hear, but I did hear that our former board member Bob Ietta was struggling with his health and his mind right now. So I'm trying to get a hold of his son and daughter-in-law, but I haven't been able to yet. So just keep him on our prayers.
Great man.
And then I did want to mention when Cheryl Kauser was up here regarding some kind of a mitigation plan in case we, tip over a possum belly truck or whatever, or a trailer. Back when I was a kid, there was no bypass, like to go down to the Peoria Union Stockyards for metal stain. So we had to go right through the heart of the city. And I had 13 head of cattle back in my straight truck. And somebody pulled out in front of me, and I swerved to miss him, and it tipped him out, and all 13 of them went out on Lake Street and Knoxville Avenue. And we gathered them all up, clear up in the back of kind of like a little cubby hole back in the back of Sheridan Village. And we got them all in some goosenecks. So not much of a plan, but it's what we had to do at the time. So.
Thanks, Member Alsasser.
I just want to thank Jimmy as well as any of the other members of that committee that I had to leave the other day in the executive board. And I've always felt this about the infrastructure committee. Any one of the members on that committee, I think, are qualified. And that's what I looked to see who was here. And we had a number of people present. And I felt that any one of them can give those reports that I give in the past. And I heard rumor that Mr. Dillon got criticized because he spent so much time. And I really believe he always gives such great information. And I don't think you would take my explanation over Chairman Dillon. So I'll defend him anytime.
Thanks, Coach. Member Ricker?
Yeah. I would like to thank the Farm Bureau and Cheryl for being here and, being from the ag world myself. I think it's great to have a partnership with the Farm Bureau and the ag community. And I'd like to see us as a board build tighter relationships and work better together so that part of our community can really thrive and grow. So thank you, Cheryl, for being here.
As Member Renault says, no, thank you, but a big thank you to him for stepping up. On tonight's appointment list, he agreed to go onto the Mount Holly Cemetery Board. So sometimes when you ask, you get lucky. Thank you, Rob. Member Blair?
I said this at the executive committee meeting too, but thank you to everyone for sending your well wishes to me as I'm recovering from surgery. Also, the new bison looks so wonderful out in the courtyard, and I'm hoping we can start a tradition of rubbing the little baby's head, the little calf's head, for good luck. So I'm just starting that now so that we can get that to happen.
Administrator?
Just one thing, Mr. Chairman. For those of you that did get headshots this evening, you'll receive those from Daryl. If you like any of the several that he took, just let Gretchen or Megan know, and which one you want, and then we'll make sure we get that uploaded to both the website and to ClerkMate.
And I did forgive to give an update the other day when we were talking about things that were presented at infrastructure, but there was our attorney Andrew Kite was present to give a update on the road use agreement, potentially for the RDA for the Repsol wind project or the Four Creeks wind project, with meeting with the township upcoming, and then hopefully with the idea that the road use agreement would be coming also to next month's committee meetings as one of the first steps. So just an FYI to put that on everybody's radar. With that, meeting adjourned.